to you. We have the other daughter back with us. Yay! Jennifer Faith. Good morning, good afternoon to you. The trio is back together, better than ever. Happy New Year to our viewers and our listeners. Thank you guys so much for coming into 2026 with us. How about it? Here we are,
Good
and we
morning.
are stepping foot into a brand new year, which might, for most of us, should include potentially some new goals. How about it? And right now, I know many of us, including the three of us, are hearing all about goal setting. What are going to be your goals for this year? Your personal goals, your professional goals, and all the goals in between. But what happens if you are really not sure what your goals should be? Because we're not, just because the year turns over, the calendar says 1/1. It doesn't mean that we go from December 31st not having a clue to waking up January 1st and having all of the clues. So this episode is going to be for those who maybe aren't feeling so sure about what the goal should be. We don't know what the next year should look like. We're not even sure we're not even sure what the next month is going to look like. How about it? But so how do we embrace that? What should we be thinking about? And what should be the mindset around all of this? So, Jennifer, why don't you start off sharing with our listeners a little bit about kind of what we were talking about before we hit record, about maybe what your past years in business have looked like when January came around, and what you're thinking about this for this upcoming year.
Yeah, so this episode is like, for me, this is a therapy session. And for anyone that is in my position. But I was feeling very anxious as the year was coming to a close because I know what that means. And, I've always been the type of person, the type of business owner that has a really clear vision from one thing to the next. And so as 2026 was approaching, I was feeling anxious around the fact that I have no idea what my goals should be, or even what I really want for the next year, what I want outside of my business. And so I was sharing those feelings and those thoughts with Dad, of course. And so it got me thinking about how there's this pressure around a new year, around goal setting. And I know that, um, to really grow and to be able to do new things and to expand, personally or in your business, you really have to push outside of your comfort zone. But, equally, what if, you want to stay in your comfort zone a little bit longer and enjoy the fruits of your labor, of everything you put into your business X amount of years? And so, after talking to Dad, and this has really been on the top of my mind every day, I started to think about, isn't it interesting that I know what I don't want for 2026, but not really sure what I do want? And so as I started thinking about that concept, I said, okay, if I can say I really don't want to put my daughter in daycare, so how can I put a goal around that? And so that has started to help make me think about really what I do want for 2026, in my personal life and inside of my business. First, I just want to say to all of our listeners, if you don't know what you want out of 2026, that's okay. Let's just take the pressure off of that right now. And so, I think one of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur is that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And what Dad really, told me recently is like, it's okay to, put your foot on the brake and then put it back on the pedal, basically. Right. So there's times inside of your business where I think for me, coming up on 10 years of business, my foot has consistently been on the pedal, trying new things, going outside of my comfort zone, completely changing my mindset, changing my business. I've done it all. I've done it all. And now that I'm a mom of two, my season of life has changed. And so, again, I just want to reassure our listeners that sometimes it's okay to not know. I'm also 3 months postpartum, guys, so I'm still trying to figure out who I am in general, let alone what am I doing inside of my business in 2026. But what I do know is that I have two beautiful kids. I have a successful business, and everything is good. And we can find comfort in that. We don't have to have these crazy big goals. Sometimes the goal, for the new year is like, I just want to I want to maintain, right? I don't want to necessarily go backwards, but I'm not also trying to push anything crazy forward. I just want to maintain and enjoy this season of life, enjoy where my business is right now, and let those goals come naturally. Because I definitely was trying to force it these last few days. Like, I have to know what I want. It's funny, you guys know, especially on the podcast, if you've been listening to us, I do vision boards, okay? If there's one thing I do is the vision board in January, okay? And so with my team at the salon, I have not scheduled a vision board class yet. Because on the inside, I'm like, I have no vision to put on my board. How can I have a class? And so, a few of the stylists was like, when's our vision board class? It's my favorite thing out of the whole year. What are we? And so then that added more pressure to myself. Like, what am I putting on my vision board standing in front of, a team of individuals that I'm mentoring? And so, there's a lot of layers to this goal setting this year, Dad.
Well, yeah, and
I was going to
again,
say
I
that
think
does not sound like something
maybe one thing
Jeff
I
would
would
say.
say,
Maybe take it off the
I don't know
accelerator,
if I
but don't
said
put it.
it's okay to put your foot on the brake. And then I think what I said was, that's what I said. I said you can let off the accelerator, and then when you're ready to ramp back up, you can then start to accelerate. So I think I understood what your point was, and I think so did our listeners. But
Bad for you guys.
but I think that and again, it's hard because I know our listeners that we're looking at their different businesses out there. So it's not like every business. If you have a business that just requires you to be present, because it's full service. I mean, I can just think of businesses that you just have to be fully engaged in. But I think as you said, Jen, it's just showing yourself grace to say, okay, I'm not sure where I want my business to go in 2026. And so just be okay with that, and not push against it, I guess is what, not to force something. I'm not saying, you just say, oh, the heck with it. I'm not setting any goals, but just kind of let yourself breathe and say, okay, now's just not the time because I'm just not sure, and just keep, um, just allowing yourself to, just be in the process of, what you think. And, one of the things I would suggest, or, what you could do would be, even just put some smaller things down, whether they're, yours is a perfect example. My goal, is, to, spend quality time with my now two kids, and or time. And so I'm okay pulling off, letting off the accelerator because I know that this season is relatively short, where I have, this time with my kids. But then there'll be a point when they're both in school. There's, and you can kind of, push that accelerator back up again. And so I guess that would be a goal potentially to say, I want to pull back off, but I just want to be cautious that I'm not backing off till it starts to go reverse on me. But, just back off and just be cognizant of, keeping the business positioned in such a way that I can accelerate again down the road. But start with smaller goals, things that, might be more personal in nature, could be more, again, around personal development, self-development, fitness, all the typical things that we think about at the beginning of the year. Or it could be just more process oriented, just thinking about what do I want my process to be? I want to, and being good with the process. A great goal would be, if you don't have any like numbers that you're wanting to hit, but I think a great goal is, my goal starting in 2026 is to be focused on what I can control and not allow the things I can't control to dictate my day, and change my course of my day, and just understand that there's going to be things that happen that we have no control over. And so rather than push against those, and potentially, get, worry and other things start to ensue, just allow those things to happen. So, that could be a good place to start, So again, but showing yourself grace like you're doing, I think is the key, is when you don't have those numbers. Now, in that season of life, everybody's different too. Yours is because I struggle with this, right? Because I'm so used to going, and having goals and, and so, where now I'm in that season of life where I could say, okay, same thing, I'm in a position to, if I want to, pull my foot back on the accelerator, I can do that. And I'm positioned to do it. I just don't know how to do it. That's my problem. I just don't know how, to do that because it's not in my DNA or it's not in how I'm wired. And so, so my goal is to, again, show myself grace that it's okay, to pull off the accelerator if that's what I want to do, right? Because my season of life is more around the ability to look at things differently because of,
One of the
where the
things that I've
business is
seen
at, how long I've been doing it,
on online
experience,
is for those that,
solid client base, all
not to
those things
push,
would allow
like
me
what we're
to
talking about
approach things
today,
if I choose.
there's some of us that we're not in a season of clarity, right? Because it's January of a new year doesn't mean that we have clarity like some others. And so to not get caught up in trying to compare ourselves with maybe other people that are in the same industry as ours who for some reason or we know what their goals are or they've had such a great year and they're looking to replicate that and we're here we are in a different season of life but we're sitting here going I'm not I can't push clarity right now. So rather than trying to list out all these specific goals, maybe just focusing on a word. Like before I think we hit record or maybe we hit record. Uh my word is progress and peace. So in every aspect of my business and my personal life and what I'm, whether it's my fitness, I want progress and I want peace. I want to have progress, but I don't want to stress myself out. If I if I can't stick to the meal plan I set, I'm gonna give myself grace and I'm gonna have peace about it. I'm not gonna, throw the whole day away. Like everything's just progress and peace is what right now for January. Now come February, let's there's certain numbers we got to hit, otherwise I'll lose my job. So crazy. We gotta find the clarity. Um, but I thought that that was very helpful to say, once again, for some, it's we try to push these, these goals. We try to write them down, and
Yeah.
we've all been there. It's like we've had a goal where it's like it's just I already know that's probably not in me to do for my business or show or whatever it is. But it seemed like the right thing to do because either the company that we keep or the, industry that we're in or social media is like, oh, well, we should have all these lofty goals because we're seeing everyone else's highlight reels. And that just doesn't have to be, at least not right now. So I thought having a word that I could be committed to a word right now, right? I could be committed to the thought, to the thought of that. And I thought that was very helpful. Um, so Jen, so are you doing a vision board? What are we, so you share, like, we don't have a vision to put on the board just yet. So what are we sharing kind of with our team? Because I think that could be helpful for our listeners to say, you have a team that's looking to you to say, hey, when are we doing this party? But you're sitting here saying, you know what, right now, I don't necessarily have my own vision to put on the board, but we have a team that is looking to us for this, for this get together, for this annual thing that we do for our business. So maybe share with our listeners before we round out this episode what your plan is for that.
Yeah, we got to do the vision board, right? That's a non-negotiable. Um, I think that thankfully a lot of my team members, have worked inside of the business for many years. And, everybody understands um different seasons of life that you go through. And um so I think one really powerful thing, especially when you're in leadership, is to be vulnerable and to really share those things. And typically inside of our vision board class, that's what it is. It's not just about cutting out pictures and putting it on a board. It's really us getting vulnerable and talking about 2025 and what's coming in 2026. Thankfully, that we all kind of know what's going on with each other anyway. So I think it's just a really great opportunity for me to be vulnerable, with my team, um, no matter what, right? They know that I'm going to show up and show up to the best of my ability. But I think it's okay to say, hey, you know, 10 years ago, I was a completely different person. And so thankfully, I am surrounded not only by clients that come inside of our business, to people that work here, to my family, that they want to see me be happy, even within motherhood. So they are all really, take more time, be with your kids. It goes by fast, right? That's what I hear every single day. So, I just want to be vulnerable with them. And like I said, I think my mindset right now is, if you have a clear vision of what you do not want in 2026, then what kind of goals can we create around that? And so that's currently my process of what my mindset is right now. And I'm going to share that with my team at our class. And like you said, Stace, I think for me, it's about, just quality, not quantity. Because again, I'm very much a person that's like more, 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 more. And what I'm learning about myself is actually less is best. But just, I'm excited to say yesterday was the first day Lila was in the salon with me. And I was thinking about this podcast, and I'm cleaning out the salon. And of course, she's just napping in her car seat. But she's already spent time in the salon inside the business with me, doing what we have to do. And that really means a lot to, um, you know, goal setting
Yeah.
and our
Well, yeah,
businesses and being
we'll give you a
entrepreneurs
couple
and just all of
episodes,
that.
Jen, and then we'll ask you to
So we
do a
will do the
full
vision board class. I have to
breakdown of
report
what
back to see how
actually
it
got
goes.
on the board for the
We'll
vision.
see what I actually put on
A
my
full
board if it's
presentation.
empty. Presentation.
Well, and on that, just real quick, because I know we need to wrap up, but, I think, as you said, the leadership aspect of that, is really a great thing for, your team, because, you going in saying, boy, if you've been on these vision board meetings before, you know how I have usually approached them, and now I'm, honestly struggling because I feel like I want to, part of me is like I need to continue to pursue and accelerate and grow, and but yet there's a big part of me saying no, and so it's created this place where, honestly, I've felt a bit conflicted, with my goals, but I've just, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm understanding now that it's okay to, first of all, struggle. And so, because the point being is it gives your team, I think, that release, that freedom to say, oh, I'm struggling too, but I'm going to a vision board. So I've got to just put stuff down because that's what we're supposed to do when they're struggling. So it could be a situation where it opens up some dialogue, during the meeting that maybe helps someone get more clarity for, on your team. So again, I think, humbling yourself, not feeling like, you have to, kind
Love
of
it.
not
Love it. It's what's such a good topic. I
reveal to
think,
people you're struggling
I
is a
know
great
it
leadership
obviously hits home
attribute.
for all
So
three of
I
us.
think that's
So
really going to make it
hopefully it hits
meaningful
home
for
for
everybody,
some of our
including you.
viewers and our listeners. We hope that you guys have found this to be helpful. Happy New Year, everyone. And we'll see you guys in our next episode. Bye-bye.